Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Site for Wight, welcoming you to this week's Talking News on Saturday the 2nd of April 2022. This week has been very busy for us. We are delighted that as of yesterday, Friday the 1st of April, the Wight Sense team has now merged into Site for Wight. The Wight Sense team will be working with visually impaired, hearing impaired and visually and hearing impaired people, giving assessments, advice, equipment and mobility training for people living with any level of hearing or sight loss. So we would like to officially welcome Mark, the Sensory Service Manager, Paula, who is looking after people with hearing impairment, Karen, who will be looking after all equipment and referrals for everybody, and Karen, who will be joining the Wight Sense team from Site for Wight, looking after visually impaired people. Of course, we also would like to welcome Lindsay, who is the Service Administrator. So from Monday onwards, we will be a larger merged team and we look forward to helping more and more people here on the island. Please everybody, stay safe and enjoy this rather up and down weather, starting last week with sun, moving to snow and ending with this rather chilly week. Thank you, Lisa, CEO, Site for Wight.
This is Brian reading an article from the Island Echo. Ryde's Westacre Park development finally given planning permission. A major 473 home development in Ryde will go ahead as it has now officially been given planning permission 8 months since it was determined. A motion to think again on the development was rejected at Tuesday night's Isle of Wight Council's Planning Committee. Councillor Chris Jarman had asked the committee to reconsider the controversial application. Speaking at the meeting, Councillor Jarman said concerned members had gained a wealth of new understanding and information since the decision was made in July, which enabled them to view the events with much greater clarity. He said, "This motion recognises none of us is perfect. We make mistakes, we can learn from them and have the chance to put them right. We have a duty to correctly follow practice and law, and we were advised we did not. We must bring this tainted matter back, correct the failings, and resolve to do right." Councillor Jarman said he did not seek to overturn the final decision, but the process leading up to that. A report from the authority's Chief Executive, John Metcalfe, in which independent legal advice was sought, says procedural allegations around the application do not raise significant legal issues. Should it reach a judicial review, it says, there is a defence for every point put to them. Councillor Chris Quirk said the correct way for this to proceed was to let it go to judicial review to get a definitive answer, not an opinion, on the interpretations of the law. He said, "We're going to continue to argue about these things. We need to have planning back on an even keel. This is a totally unsatisfactory way to proceed. It is not the way we have ever worked in the past. I think it is despicable and I am opposed to this motion." Councillor Matt Price, who chose not to vote in July, said over time he had become less convinced proper procedure had not been followed, but thought it came before an inexperienced planning committee too quickly after the election. The decision was made at only the third meeting of the new planning committee, 3 months after the elections, which had 4 newly elected councillors on it. Councillor Peter Spink, a new councillor but not on the committee at that time, said having watched the July meeting, he was shocked and surprised by the amount of pressure the committee was put under by the planning officers. Meanwhile, Councillor Paul Brading, who was on the committee, said there was no pressure. It was just a difficult decision to make. The vote split members of the planning committee with 4 in favour of the motion, Councillors Dave Adams, Jarman, John Medland and Peter Spink, but 6 against, Councillors Paul Brading, Jeff Brodie, Warren Drew, Martin Oliver, Quirk and Price, with one abstention, Councillor Michael Lilly. Officers can now sign the Section 106 agreement with developers Captiva Homes and formally issue the planning permission to get the ball rolling.
This is Chris, reading an article from the Island Echo. Cancer services for islanders on the move from early April. More Isle of Wight residents will have to head to Portsmouth instead of Southampton for cancer treatment. Colorectal and breast cancer patients will receive their oncology services from specialists at Queen Alexandra Hospital, in an extension of the strategic partnership between the Isle of Wight NHS Trust, IW, and Portsmouth Hospitals University NHS Trust, PHU, which started in 2019. The move will take place next Monday, the 4th of April, but patients will still be diagnosed, surgically treated, tested, receive chemotherapy treatments and attend appointments at St Mary's Hospital on the island as far as possible. As the tertiary centre for tumour groups, some cancer services will remain at Southampton General Hospital, including lung, brain, upper gastrointestinal and neurological cancers. For those in the middle of their treatment, it will continue at Southampton and aftercare will be provided by PHU. Radiotherapy will also move to Portsmouth due to the specialist licences, equipment and staff required. There will be no changes to the island's chemotherapy unit, however. Patients affected by the move, roughly 200 breast cancer and 100 colorectal patients, should have received a letter explaining the changes to them along with an appointment letter from PHU. Some cancer patients, including prostate, skin, head and neck, already receive care from PHU, and the Isle of Wight say no complaints have been received about the services it provides in the last 2 years. Dr. Akash Maniam, one of the island's new breast cancer consultants from PHU, said he cannot wait to work on the island. He said, "With the remit and staffing we have at Portsmouth, it is a natural step in our partnership and will harmonise the care we are providing in the region and build on our good relationship." At a meeting of the Isle of Wight Council's Health and Social Care Scrutiny Committee this month, the island's Trust Interim Chief Executive, Darren Cattell, said they were really pleased about the move as PHU was able to provide the specialist care needed. He recognised there may be more or fewer travel issues depending on where patients lived on the island, but the Trust was looking at where the best possible care was and patients would get the right possible care in the right place. Those patients unable to travel daily to PHU for treatment will be accommodated at a nearby hotel, following discussions with their oncologists. The Daisy bus will continue to operate, providing travel to and from the hospitals, from Hover Travel and Red Funnel terminals.
Hello, this is Steve reading a story from the On the Wight news website, headlined, "Learn more about conservation in stonemasonry as Newport Minster undergoes transformation." Newport Minster is celebrating conservation and local craftsmanship made possible by the National Lottery Heritage Fund and the National Churches Trust. It's transforming the Minster Church of the island into a modern place of worship and an arts venue for the whole Isle of Wight community. It is also offering islanders a chance to try new skills in a range of activities from conservation to stonemasonry. Dubbed the church at the heart of the island, Newport Minster is uniquely well placed to serve the needs of every age group in the growing island community. And thanks to money raised by National Lottery players, the church is wrapped in scaffolding as it undergoes transformation to secure a vibrant future for the building. To celebrate, local graffiti artist Not Dead Yet has created a carnival of chaotic and colourful animals walking 2 by 2 around the outside of the minster, and visitors are already starting to notice their favourite animals as they pass the church. It will be linked to free family trails available from Whitsun Week from the Minster Cafe. Elsewhere, work is already well underway to repair the roof and stained glass, clean the monuments and mend the stone facades. It is already providing a great opportunity for young islanders to learn more about the skills involved in working on buildings like this. As part of the project, a series of free talks entitled Meet the Experts offers a chance to get to know the team working on conservation of monuments, stained glass and stonemasonry. Anyone, including students interested in studying history or looking for experience for a career in conservation, are encouraged to come along. The Minster needs volunteers interested in investigating the Minster and its history here in Newport. Working with project partners the Isle of Wight Heritage Service, there are free workshops on how to use historical records, as well as tips on managing and interpreting evidence. Richard Smout, the Service Manager for the County Record Office and a member of the PCC, will lead sessions on handling original records and sharing what they can teach us. The first sessions are on the 7th and 12th of April and run for 2 hours. They'll be held at Isle of Wight County Record Office at 26 Hillside, Newport. The postcode there being PO302EB. There's council parking on the quay. Attendance is free, but numbers are limited to 10 people per session, so tickets must be booked in advance. To attend the talks, please contact them on campaign@newportminster.org or call 01983 559 257.
This is Den reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Huge relief as Ayrton oil drilling plans are scrapped. Plans by UKOG, UK Oil and Gas, to drill for oil at a site in Ayrton on the Isle of Wight have been scrapped. The company has revealed that it won't appeal the decision to refuse planning permission for oil exploration, to the delight of local campaigners. In a statement last Friday, the company said the estimated £500,000 cost of a planning appeal would be spent on other projects. Speaking to the Drill or Drop website, UKOG said, "Given the number of new opportunities available to the company, all of which are considered to offer far greater success case, economic impact and higher probabilities of success than the proposed Isle of Wight project, the company has decided not to appeal against the planning refusal. The envisaged £0.5 million planning appeal costs will therefore remain available and could be used for developing new oil and gas and geothermal energy storage projects." The Isle of Wight Council blocked the application in a unanimous vote in October 2021. Planning officers had recommended approval of the scheme, arguing that economic benefits outweigh environmental harm. Councillors said the proposal had no local economic benefits and would damage the Isle of Wight's high-quality natural landscape, key to its tourist industry. Susie Ellis, the Isle of Wight Council ward member for Central Rural, which includes the parish of Ayrton, said, "I am delighted that UKOG has announced that it will not appeal the refusal of planning permission. This is great news for local residents, campaigners and the island as a whole." Securing the refusal of this application was a team effort led by Don't Drill the Wight. "I was pleased to play my part as the ward councillor in making the case for refusal in my representations to the planning committee. When the application was refused, I made clear that, in the event of an appeal by the applicant, I would be writing to the Secretary of State asking that he recovers the decision for his own determination. I also said that by making this intention clear at that stage, it would help the applicant decide whether pursuing an appeal of a unanimous decision would be a worthwhile step. Clearly, UKOG has its own publicly stated reasons for not pursuing an appeal. But I consider that the possibility of it being referred to the Secretary of State was a factor in helping them conclude that challenging the Isle of Wight Council's decision was not worth doing. Either way, I am delighted at this outcome, particularly as it gives certainty to everyone concerned. My thanks to everyone who was involved and supported this campaign. Arreton is safe from oil drilling. A spokesperson for Don't Drill the Wight said, "We are delighted to hear that UKOG has finally decided not to appeal the decision of the Planning Committee to reject the Arreton oil site application. It is a huge relief for us all on the island. We hope that this will give our council the confidence to include a specific statement within their upcoming review of the Island Minerals and Waste Plan, rejecting all plans for fossil fuel exploration and extraction. The Isle of Wight exploration licence is still active until July 2023, but it is doubtful that it will be sold on by UKOG to another operator. We are continuing to monitor the government's policies on future plans for offshore developments, since the Isle of Wight offshore licence P1916, which was dropped by UKOG in 2018, could be included in the next offshore round of licences. UKOG sought 3 years of consent for a well pad, new access track and road junction, and drilling and testing of vertical and side track wells.
This is Brian reading an article from the Island Echo. Plans to build 8 homes at Clark Mast site in Binstead submitted. Redevelopment plans for a factory in Binstead are back on the table. A series of planning applications dating back to 2014 saw the Clark Mast factory on Ringwood Road marked up for major development. It would have seen part of the factory demolished to make way for 20 houses. Planning permission has expired, however, and with some questions over previous consents, new plans have been unveiled while the other applications are determined. In an application to the Isle of Wight Council, Evergreen Holdings Limited, the company behind Clark Mast, is seeking permission to demolish part of the existing factory where 8 houses will be built and add a smaller second factory building. Documents submitted with the application show no jobs would be lost through the redevelopment. There are currently 50 full-time and 1 part-time employees. The new factory building will have updated and modern facilities according to planning agents BCM on behalf of the company and continue to provide commercial floor space. Slight alterations have been made to the plans that were previously approved in a bid to make the housing more attractive to buyers, according to BCM. The houses built on the brownfield land would be 2-bed properties, meeting the island's needs for housing for small families and couples. The positioning, scale and mass would not harm any existing or future residents' amenity in terms of privacy, outlook or disturbance, say BCM. While no affordable housing is proposed on site, the developers are willing to provide a financial contribution towards its provision elsewhere. To view the application, reference 21/02489/FUL, you can visit the Council's planning register. Comments can be submitted until the 26th of April.
This is Chris, reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Isle of Wight sea eagle death. Police decision to end investigation baffling. A leading wildlife charity says it's absolutely baffled after Dorset Police ended its investigation into the death of an Isle of Wight sea eagle. The bird, which was one of 25 white-tailed eagles released on the island, was said to have consumed 7 times the amount of rat poison needed to kill it. Its death in Dorset earlier this year prompted a police investigation. Dorset Police has since revealed it will take no further action despite the discovery of rat poison in the eagle's system. A spokesman for Dorset Police said, "A detailed examination and tests have been carried out on the bird, which were inconclusive, and it has therefore not been possible to confirm that any criminal offence has been committed." While high levels of brodifacoum were detected, it has not been possible to establish whether this was as a result of deliberate act or due to secondary rodenticide poisoning. As a result, no further police action will be taken in relation to this report. The force's decision to end the investigation has been labelled premature by wildlife charity RSPB. Global Conservation Director Katie Jo Luxton says it has sought assurances that the police's wildlife crime remit is still operational. She said, "We are completely baffled by the decision of Dorset Police to end the white-tailed eagle investigation so prematurely. Brodifacoum, the rodent poison that killed the eagle, is highly toxic, and it is clear that it was being used either incompetently or with intent to kill raptors. Either way, an illegal act. A thorough land search has been planned on the estate in question to look for evidence such as poison baits or misuse, but that was recently and unexpectedly called off. The investigation has not been closed by Health and Safety Executive, but that has now been made defunct by the police communication. We seek assurances from Dorset Police that their wildlife crime remit is still operational and that other significant ongoing raptor persecution investigations are fully investigated without fear or favour, as per police oath. The Roy Dennis Wildlife Foundation, which runs the reintroduction programme alongside Forestry England, said data indicates that the eagle's health deteriorated over a period of several days. The group said, "Post-mortem and toxicology testing through the Wildlife Incident Investigation Scheme has subsequently identified brodifacoum poisoning as the cause of death. Brodifacoum is a highly toxic anticoagulant rodenticide that causes internal hemorrhaging. The bird's liver contained approximately 7 times the amount of brodifacoum required to kill a bird like the white-tailed eagle. The satellite data indicates that the eagle, which was otherwise healthy, deteriorated and died over a period of several days." A spokesman added, "It is very disappointing that G461 has become the latest bird of prey to die of brodifacoum poisoning, and we hope that the death of this bird serves as a reminder of the toxicity of anticoagulant rodenticide poisonings and the impacts they can have on wider wildlife. The white-tailed eagle is the third to die this year.
Hello, this is Steve reading a story from Isle of Wight Radio, headlined Cannabis Cultivation Facility Given the Green Light on the Isle of Wight. A Home Office licence has been granted to allow local firm Vecticana to begin legally cultivating cannabis for research and development purposes right here on the Isle of Wight, creating up to 60 new local jobs. The approval comes after a rigorous application and inspection process involving support from top academics, doctors, specialist legal support and even the support of the island's MP Bob Seeley over the past 2 years. Based in the West Wight, Vecticana Limited will be one of just a handful of approved locations in the UK allowed to legally cultivate various strains of the Class B drug cannabis. The approval grants permission for cultivation for the purposes of research and development, for the treatment of fibromyalgia and other conditions related to neuroinflammation. The primary focus will be on researching the therapeutic and analgesic, that's pain relief potential, of cannabinoids and full-spectrum cannabis extracts, while simultaneously increasing their availability for patients and end consumers. The facility itself will bring year-round employment opportunities for many islanders, with hopes that the site will eventually employ up to 60 people. The pharmaceutical cannabis marketplace is growing globally, and Vecticana hopes the Isle of Wight can reap the benefits of this. A solar array will provide lighting and irrigation to the facility, and being a solid structure building, it will allow no light to escape to help protect the island's night sky, whilst also ensuring the security of the cannabis inside. The whole research facility will be fenced, highly secured and monitored to deter any potential thieves. The experienced management team, led by island resident and Vecticana CEO Adam Moore, are passionate about the Isle of Wight and island businesses. They believe combining the local rich agricultural heritage into this emerging marketplace is a surefire recipe for success. More information about Vecticana can be found at www.vecticana, which is spelled with 2 N's.com.
This is Den reading from On the Wight. Isle of Wight CCG renews 3 island-based mental health service contracts. 3 providers of community mental health services, OSEL, 2 Saints, an Isoropia Foundation, have had their contracts renewed by NHS Hampshire, Southampton and Isle of Wight Clinical Commissioning Group, CCG. These providers already successfully deliver a range of services supporting people with mental health conditions, providing well-being interventions, employment support and crisis prevention and intervention, enabling people to lead hopeful and fulfilling lives. The award of these contracts is a recognition of the positive impact that community-based services have had on people living on the island. OSEL has already succeeded in supporting more than 230 people into work, education, training or voluntary roles, while the 2 Saints Safe Haven service has provided vital support for almost 900 people in 10 months, helping those who might be at risk of deterioration or crisis. During the same 10-month period, more than 600 people have been referred to Isoropia, with all patients reporting reduced anxiety and more than 3/4 being able to become more socially active. All 3 providers work closely with the Isle of Wight NHS Trust Mental Health Services, GP practices and social care within the Isle of Wight Council, ensuring that the whole system comes together to meet the needs of people experiencing mental illness. Dr. Dan O'Neill, Isle of Wight GP, and one of the CCG's mental health leads, said, "This is great news for the Isle of Wight community, as these contracts will allow continuation of services that are already valued by those using them, and allow GP practices to work closer with wider elements of the mental health system. It will also ensure each of the providers to continue to build a foundation upon which development will further improve the resources available to our residents in need of support. All 3 contracts begin on the 1st of April 2022 and will last for at least 3 years, meaning there will be stability in community mental health and wellbeing provision until at least 2025. OSEL provide employment advice and employment support to people living with mental health support needs. Tracy Hill, Chief Executive of OSEL, said, "We are absolutely thrilled to be awarded a 3-year contract from the NHS. This award gives our long-established quality employment service the stability it needs to continue to deliver our outstanding person-centred advice and support. It provides much-needed reassurance to clients that the service is stable and will be able to support them on their employment journey. It will also allow our advisors to continue with their development aspirations, strengthening the team as a whole. Working in partnership with other organisations, we will ensure that the service continues to improve by reviewing its procedures and using client feedback to produce the best possible outcomes. Two Saints provides the Newport-based safe haven for adults on the island that may be experiencing mental health crisis. Steve Benson, Chief Executive for Two Saints, said, "We are really pleased to have been awarded the contract to continue to deliver the safe haven services on the Isle of Wight. We know that crisis mental health intervention services are a key aspect in helping those in need and to reduce the requirement for hospital treatment by improving the mental health and helping support them to achieve a brighter future. We very much look forward to working in partnership with Isle of Wight NHS Trust and other providers for the benefit of the community on the island. Isoropia Foundation delivers community mental health and wellbeing services, as well as peer support across the Isle of Wight. Vicky Hayworth, one of the CEOs at Isoropia Foundation, said, "Isoropia Foundation aims to make the Isle of Wight a positive and healthy place to live for everyone. We are overjoyed to have been awarded the 3-year contract to deliver community mental health and wellbeing for the island, which allows us to continue to offer our model of well-being and to self-empower our members to become the best versions of themselves. We look forward to building and strengthening our collaborative partnerships to develop and embed fantastic mental health and well-being provision across the island." The Isle of Wight NHS Trust No Wrong Door Mental Health and Learning Disability Strategy, published in October 2020, highlights the importance of partnerships between services in ensuring people receive the care they need at the right time and close to home. Leslie Stevens, Director of Community and Mental Health and Learning Disabilities, Isle of Wight NHS Trust, said, "We have been privileged to work with OSEL, Two Saints and Isoropia Foundation, all of whom share our approach to working collaboratively with people who have mental health difficulties to create hope, build on their strengths and support recovery. Working together with partners across our health and care system means that we can ensure that nobody falls through the gaps and that those people who need mental health support can access high-quality care closer to home. The pandemic has been a very challenging time for many people, especially for those with pre-existing mental health conditions, and therefore now, more than ever, we want to ensure that mental health support is easy to access and responsive to people's needs on the island."
Hello, this is Steve reading a story from Isle of Wight Radio, headlined, "Some Progress but More to Do." Almost 2 years on from Isle of Wight mum's skin cancer death. Things are better, but a lot more still needs to be done to take potentially malignant moles seriously, according to an Isle of Wight mother who lost her daughter to skin cancer in 2020. May marks 2 years since beloved Islander and mother of two Zoe Panayi died. The then 26-year-old twice went to the doctors about an itchy mole, but was allegedly told not to worry. It later turned out to be cancerous. Although Zoe's family say they are pleased changes have been made at Island GP surgeries since then, they still believe further improvements are necessary to ensure cancerous moles are identified from an early stage. Speaking to Isle of Wight Radio, Zoe's mother, Eileen Punter, said, "I know it's very hard for doctors, and I know they have timescales and how long they see people, but I do think they need to maybe listen a little bit more when people go in. Take an extra couple of minutes. Listen. Instead of saying, oh, you know, well, don't worry about it, get them referred, get them seen to." An investigation was subsequently launched following Zoe's death. Eileen says it has now concluded, and Hampshire and Isle of Wight Clinical Commissioning Group, the CCG, has admitted fault. The CCG would not comment on the outcome of the investigation when approached. However, it did say it has since put in place new measures. Alison Smith, Managing Director of the Isle of Wight for NHS Hampshire Southampton, CCG, said, "We would again like to express our deep condolences to Zoe's family, with whom we have met recently. Advances in technology mean lesions can now be monitored more effectively over time and enable even the most subtle changes to be identified. Use of Dermicus teledermatology for early skin cancer diagnosis, introduced in 2019, is now being used by all Island GP practices. The technological advances have led to updated clinical pathways, systems, processes and training for early recognition and referral. As part of changes, GP locations on the Isle of Wight now have access to new dermatology testing technology. The system allows GPs to use mobile teledermoscopy to send images of moles to other health professionals across the country. Through the platform, doctors are said to be able to diagnose and recommend treatment quicker. Following Zoe's death, Eileen and her family launched Zoe's Law, a petition to ensure all moles and skin tags removed are tested. It has so far been signed by more than 24,000 people, and Isle of Wight MP Bob Seeley has previously said he plans to escalate it to Parliament. Eileen says people from all over the country have been in touch to thank the family for raising awareness. Some people have come back saying it's all clear. Some people have come back saying thank God you let us know, because we've gone and we've got it and it's at the early stages and they're starting medication, Eileen said. We do have quite a few people who stay in touch and keep us updated with the treatments they're getting as well. I try to help as much as I can with them all when people ask, and all I can say is, all I know is this is what happened with Zoe. This is where she went, this is the treatment she had, and if it had been 5 years earlier, it could have helped her. So I try to help people. Eileen says it remains as important as ever to insist on getting checked if you're worried. I miss her every single day. Zoe's loss is felt by her family, including her two boys, Theo J and Tobias, and every day, Eileen says, she told Isle of Wight Radio losing a child is something, quotes, you just cannot explain. I miss Zoe every single day. I miss her calling me when she used to go to work every day. I miss her calling me when she came home. Calling in the morning to say, have I got milk for Weetabix for the kids? It's really hard, but I keep myself really busy all the time. I go to work to keep myself focused and try to do as much as I can with the children. Her two little boys are doing fantastically well. Their dad is absolutely brilliant. He is one of the best daddies I know. His whole life revolves around the boys. We all talk about Zoe all the time. A ball to celebrate the 10th year of Red Squirrel Property Shop, which Eileen co-owns, was held earlier in March. It has helped raise thousands of pounds for Mountbatten, the hospice where Zoe received care. More about Zoe's Law can be found on the Mountbatten website.
This is Den reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. ferry companies to use government funding to install new toilets, doors, ticket machines and signage. Wightlink has been awarded £276,800 to help improve travel to and from the Isle of Wight for disabled customers, which will see fully accessible toilets for disabled adults and children built in both Portsmouth and Ryde, and improved ticket machines at accessible height for people using wheelchairs installed at all ports. The money has been awarded to the Cross Solent ferry operator by the government as part of the Maritime Accessibility Fund, which has seen a total of £1 million allocated to ferry services. As well as the new toilets and ticket machines, there will be new intercom systems at Ryde Pier and Portsmouth Harbour to help foot passengers with disabilities to seek assistance. Furthermore, there will be more powered wheelchairs to assist Wightlink staff to aid customers boarding ferries and catamarans. Wightlink says that the 2 changing places accessible toilets equipped with hoists will give disabled people the confidence to embark on ferry travel, knowing their needs can be met during the journey. The mainland facilities at Wightlink's car ferry terminal in Gunwharf Road, Portsmouth, will also include a shower and be available 24 hours a day. The dry room toilet at Wightlink's terminal at Ryde Pierhead will be open while the fast cats are in service. The facilities will also support people with invisible disabilities that may need a quiet room to wait, together with autistic children and adults. Chief Executive Keith Greenfield says, "We are grateful to the government for this grant, which will help us to make a difference for disabled travellers who want to cross the Solent." While Wightlink complies with all accessibility regulations, and our staff always do all they can to support disabled travellers, more can always be done to make their journeys easier and more enjoyable. The changing places toilets were at the heart of Wightlink's bid for government funding. Red Funnel has received just over £296,000 to make important upgrades to the accessibility of its services, including the creation of more designated accessible seating, upgrades to emergency signage on board and improvements to each vessel's PA system, the installation of push-button self-closing automatic sliding doors across its vehicle ferries to give easier access for all passengers, upgrades to all vehicle ferry terminal toilets. The upgrades will take place during each vessel's regular scheduled annual maintenance throughout 2022. Fran Collins, Chief Executive at Red Funnel, has said, "Our service is depended on by both island residents and mainland visitors, all of whom travel for many different reasons and with different needs. So we continuously look at ways to improve our facilities and meet the requirements of all those who travel with us. The Maritime Accessibility Fund grant will help us focus on upgrades to our services to improve the experience for passengers with disabilities or accessibility needs and further enhance similar tasks already planned for this year." Hover Travel has also received funding and will be installing a changing places toilet at Southsea, an enhanced exit to the pad at Southsea, assistant technology for the company's website, and a lift at the Ryde terminal. Hearing loops are also being upgraded, as are the handrails on each of the Flyer hovercraft. Neil Chapman, Managing Director of Hover Travel, has said, "We are delighted to have received this funding from the government and their support at all levels for funding our accessibility initiative is greatly appreciated. I must also extend my personal gratitude to Isle Access and the members of the HUG who contributed enormously to our successful submission. As with all our Hovercare initiatives, we will continue to be as open as possible about our accessibility approach, including ways to share best practice with other organisations, opportunities to spread awareness of the issues involved, and how to showcase the lessons learnt."
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's Talking News. My name is Howard.
And this is Susan.
Before we start the second part of the county press items, here's this week's society news. The swimming group is on every Monday between 1:30pm and 2:30pm at Medina Leisure Centre. For more information, please call the office. The group are always looking for new members and transport can be arranged. Please note this is the last week before the 2-week Easter break. On Tuesday, we have our Godshill coffee morning at the Old Smithy, Godshill, between 10:30 and 11:45am. Please come along and meet Karen, our staff member, for a chat. Coffee and Chat is on every Wednesday at Millbrook House, 10am to 11:30am, for only £1 for cake and coffee. Please come along for a chat and members of staff will be there for any assistance with equipment and information. On Wednesday, volunteers will be at our information stand in Asda Foyer between 10am and 3pm. Pop along and say hello. Our Mix and Mingle group is on a Thursday at Millbrook House between 10:30 and 2pm. If you'd like to find out more about this very sociable group and the activities they do, please don't hesitate to call the office once again.
We have another new activity starting Friday the 8th of April, the Millbrook Milers. This is for members who enjoy a stroll of about 1 mile and with the company of fellow members and volunteers. If you'd like to come along, please call the office and book your space by Wednesday. This activity is weather dependent. Remember, our Easter chicks are on sale at Millbrook House for only £2 each, which includes a chocolate egg, or you can buy a beautiful basket of chicks containing a family of 5 for only £10, the perfect Easter gift for family and friends. If you are interested in our members forum group, the date is Tuesday, April the 12th at 10:30am. Please call the office to let us know you are available to attend. The more the merrier. We need more members to join to be able to hold the forum, so please do not hesitate to call.
Okay, now we come on to the letters section. This first letter is from Councillor Vanessa Churchman, Isle of Wight Councillor for Haylands and Swanmore. In reply to the vitriolic letter accusing me of sexism on the 22nd of March, I have 3 things to say. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. 2. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. 3. You who is without sin may cast the first stone.
Second home still encouraged. Name and address supplied but withheld. The Welsh Government is planning measures to address the number of second homes in Wales and the 15.4% increase in house prices this year. Tax increases and more planning controls are planned. In some places, nearly 50% of houses are second homes or holiday homes. In Yarmouth, I believe the percentage is far higher. I am an island resident of 62 years, and I was told that there are only 2 out of 8 of the Coast Guard cottages which are permanently occupied. Yet still, the estate agents are advertising houses in Yarmouth, Bembridge, Seaview as perfect for second home, lock up and leave, or holiday lets. This is shameful, and surely they know how they are contributing to the loss of housing for island residents, as well as a detrimental effect on our communities. Is it not possible for the Isle of Wight Council to do something to hold back the advance of the second home owners and the death of so many villages and indeed one of the most ancient towns?
This letter is from Stephen Longford in Northwood and is titled Boris Can't Wait to Reignite Moscow on Thames. How much gas and oil does the UK actually get from Russia? 3% and 5% respectively. Not very much in the grand scheme of things. So why are we waiting a year before ceasing to buy any more Russian gas or oil, particularly as the revenue Russia receives from these purchases is actively fueling Putin's war machine? Perhaps our government, Borisky and city traders are all hoping the conflict in Ukraine will have blown over in a year's time and Londongrad can recommence being the world-leading centre for laundering Russia's dirty money. Let the caviar parties and peerages flow in number 10.
Not listening to interchange viewpoints, from John Nuttall of Ryde. I have been reading the latest on Ryde News Hub. The cost for this project is unbelievable. How can councillors warrant the spending on this scale? £10 million from the government? Surely this figure could be reduced and still do a good job, as I have mentioned before. Upgrade the existing toilets and leave things alone. It's not needed, and the councillors do not listen to local people. They forget who voted them in. The travelling public want trains, buses and taxis, which we already have, plus more flower beds with seating areas. Why move the buses? There's no advantage as far as I can see. Come on, councillors, you could still make changes and show the public you are working for us.
This from Matt Weaver in Cowes. In a demonstration of supreme arrogance, Russian socialite Alina Bulinova, 35, daughter of a Russian fishing boss, complains in our national media that she and her friends have been shunned and that she no longer feels safe living in London. My heart bleeds for you. Why don't you and your friends try living in Mariupol instead, with your country's ordnance relentlessly raining down on that city day and night? Then perhaps you'd know all about feeling safe.
GPs need to find personal touch, from Marion Rumans of Bembridge. A huge thank you to our NHS 111 service and St Mary's Hospital for their care and kindness shown to me when I was quite poorly a couple of weeks ago. As an octogenarian living on her own, I was so touched by the kindness of the two young paramedics, Jason and Gemma. Also, all the nurses and doctors at A&E, and not forgetting the rapid response nurse who came to visit me at home. We are so fortunate to have the NHS and all their dedicated workers. Sadly, where the NHS fails badly is obtaining care from our local health centres. When I tried to obtain an appointment with my GP, it was like snakes and ladders. To begin with, I spoke to a very pleasant receptionist who inquired what ailed me. I was told I would have to make a telephone appointment to speak to a doctor, which I did for the next day. The next day the doctor rang and I tried to explain my predicament. I was told by the doctor that she would send an email to my medical centre. I explained that I did not know what ailed me. I already had been roughly given 3 options: a stroke, sugar diabetes, or early onset dementia. I was not suffering from diabetes, but possibly epilepsy is written on the note, she said. I thanked her and said goodbye.
This is called Imagined Musings of Our Dear Boris and is from Gerald Hawthorne in Shanklin. They say, cometh the hour, cometh the man. Doesn't Little Britain's policy on refugees make you proud? Come to Britain, don't come to Britain, come to Britain, don't come to Britain. Wouldn't you prefer to be nearer Ukraine? I tell you what, we'll help you make that decision. Here's a 30-page visa form in English to fill in. Oh, by the way, Carrie, do we have any party food left over? OK, I'm off to Saudi to bag us some oil. Note to self, only mention human rights if the Saudis bring it up. What a great success. No oil and another 3 dead bodies on top of the 81 as a departing gesture, and I've sold them a windmill. Now let's try Iran. Here's your £400 million back. Any oil by any chance? Text Liz. Get down to Heathrow pronto. There's a great photo opportunity winging your way, this time with Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe, as she meets up with her family after her 5-year ordeal. What next? I know. What will really bring Putin down? No more M&S knickers? What do you mean M&S is staying open for business in Moscow? Don't they know they're pivotal to my Churchillian plan, Operation Pants? Oh well, it's been a long day. Time for a nice bottle of claret and an early night. To be continued. Well, until we're rid of this joker.
More help needed for those seeking to aid Ukrainians, from Bill Moore of Newport. I write as one of a large number of the British people who have offered a safe haven to Ukrainian refugees to help protect them from the barbaric assault on their country by the Putin dictatorship. However, having filled in the form to register my offer of accommodation, I am unclear what I need to do next. Who decides whether my accommodation is suitable, or even if I'm suitable? I do not know if there are any Ukrainian expats on the island to help with any language difficulties or help those suffering from being exposed to the horrors of war or worried about leaving loved ones behind to defend their country. We need leadership, which seems sadly lacking now.
This one is from Darren Richards of East Cowes. Wight Link service started to deteriorate after extended refits every year. The service went down to a one-boat service for 9 months and steadily got worse. Now we're post-COVID with a service running half of the original Fastcat services after months of no service whatsoever. And despite government grants and profits to its shareholders, while still charging full-price season tickets and no refunds or discounts after receiving half the previous services. We're now meant to be returned back to normal and train returned back to normal timetable. Wight Link is utilising COVID as nothing more than a money-saving gimmick. No Fastcat just after 8 p.m. on a weekday. Miss that and you're getting back to the island at approximately 10:45 p.m. at Fishbourne, nearly 3 hours later and miles away from your car. In that time, I can commute to London and back, nearly 160 miles, quicker than the 3 miles, and what's our MP doing about it? No wonder people have had enough and are leaving the island.
Balls in Bob's court over ferry obligations, from J. Gibbons of Ryde. Dan Bloomer, in his 2 letters, County Press the 25th of March, suggests that P&O ferries would have not sacked all their seamen if we had remained in the EU. I suggest that if we were willing to break UK laws, they would have just been as willing to break EU ones. Bob Seeley MP says his wishes Wight Link had a public service obligation. Well, only he and his colleagues can arrange that, so why has it not been done? Could it be that the cure is worse than the disease? The usual path to public service obligation is to invite the ferry companies and other likely operators to say what subsidy they would require to supply the early and late and ordinary journeys Bob wants to see, and to appoint the lowest bidder to receive the subsidy and apply the loss-making trips. This commonly results in the other companies being unable to compete and ending with a monopoly situation. If the ferry companies are making huge profits by grinding the faces of travellers, as so many letters in the county press suggest, why don't the complainers get in on the act and set up their own ferry company and keep the massive profits for themselves? Indeed, this was mooted a couple of years ago. How is that getting on? Ryde Town Council is branching out into buying buildings and so forth. Perhaps they should take in the lead in setting up a cooperative. There is no difficulty in borrowing money for a profitable venture. The Bank of England is printing money if there's no tomorrow. Do they know something we don't? And it's all being doled out to the banks.
This is from Chrissy Saunders in Ryde, and it's a poem called The People Cry. No, why, oh why the people cry? Why should one man's conceit and lust for power darken their every wakening hour? Despite assurances once given in negotiation, the people now fear for their country's devastation. No, why, oh why the people sigh, but draw together in their community to give a show of patriotic unity, to hold on to their land, their way of life, despite fearing it will cause hardship and strife. They hold on to their conviction that all else will lead to restriction, freedom of words severely prohibited, spontaneous action always limited. No, why, oh why should innocent people die to satisfy an unremitting glory quest where bloodshed is the unwelcome guest? The world looks on in horror at the events as they unfold, at the actions of a man with a heart oh so cold. There's no Wight memories in the paper today, so Susan is now going to continue with my view column.
My View by Alan Marriott. Bob likes the nuclear option. No, not that one. In a strange little piece of synchronicity, I was listening to the tail end of Any Questions on Radio 4 a couple of Saturdays back while walking the Hound at Grange Chine near Bryston. Who should be on the panel but our very own MP Bob Seeley, who was giving some very strong opinions on the benefits of nuclear power and the necessity of having it as part of our energy mix in the next few decades. After the walk, I popped into the excellent Bryston stores for a few bits and pieces, and who should hove into view but the South Say Mr. Seeley. I remarked on his radio performance and we ended up having a friendly but frank exchange of views on the path of renewable energy. Bob had acknowledged during his radio tirade that the Isle of Wight was pursuing tidal options, but he was clear he didn't believe he could switch off oil and gas straight away, and he believed that nuclear was the way to go to give us the energy independence that the events in Ukraine have proved we clearly need. His conversation on the curbside with me didn't differ one jot from his media position, but I can't help having a not inconsequential number of misgivings about relying on uranium for our future energy security. The first and most pressing is the danger of attack. Chernobyl itself was set alight during the current war, and even now there are safety concerns because of the inability of the staff to move to and from the site. Then there is the threat of nuclear accident caused by any number of man-made or natural factors. Look at Chernobyl, a 3-mile island, and closer to home at Windscale in Cumbria, all pretty catastrophic in their own ways. And even if there are no accidents, there is still the issue of storing the waste fuel. Who wants that on their doorstep? Bob Seeley may be right that as things stand, there is no alternative to nuclear energy, and the development of nuclear fusion rather than fission may be safer but in the long way off, but I am far from convinced. The logic is that many of our renewable, wind, solar, etc. are far from reliable, but tidal, hydro schemes and other technologies should surely be accelerated, pumped up and worked to the max to make a cleaner, greener and more energy secure country in the decades to come. Tony King of Lake, writing on our letters page last week, suggested the residents of Wellow and Thorley, who fought successfully against onshore wind turbines some years ago, may now be thinking they were a little hasty. I wonder if he's right.
OK, thanks to Susan for that. We're now joined in the studio by Kate, and we're going to take some things about what's on. The Wight Aviation Museum is ready for a grand launch. A museum dedicated to the island's rich aviation and aerospace history is ready for its grand opening next weekend. The Wight Aviation Museum, based at Sandown Airport, will officially open its doors on Saturday, April 9th. Over the last 5 years, the efforts of a dedicated team of volunteers has seen an empty hangar transformed. As well as displays of aviation and heritage artefacts, the museum recounts the stories of real people, such as actor and aviator Robert Lorraine, reputedly the first person to land an aircraft on the island. It also has a display for Mary Ellis, the well-known Second World War pilot who flew Spitfires and many other types of aircraft with the Air Transport Auxiliary and who became Commandant Manager of Sandown Airport. The displays at the museum include the early years of Wight Aviation and the Princess flying boat, the latter considered to be the largest flying boat ever built, produced by Cowes boat builders Saunders Rowe. A large-scale model of a Spitfire hangs above the Mary Ellis display, joined by an even larger scale model of a P-51 Mustang aircraft, similar to the flight of Mustangs shot down over Pugpool in February 1945. Visitors can also immerse themselves in a virtual flight. The fuselage of a Scottish Aviation Beagle Bulldog has been creatively converted into a realistic virtual reality flight simulator. Using the aircraft's control column, rudder pedals and throttle, visitors can enjoy the thrill of flying around the island. Outside, in the rocket garden, is the museum's largest exhibit, a full-size replica of the Black Arrow R3 rocket, which was designed, built and tested at Highdown, near the Needles. It successfully launched the Prospero satellite into a low Earth orbit in October 1971 from Woomera, Australia. A full-size replica of the Prospero satellite can be found in the museum. Entry is by simply making a £4 donation.
An event for Newport's Year of the Child, inspired by the bicentenary of the death of the little sweep Valentine Gray, will be held this month. Newport and Carisbrooke Community Council will hold a panel discussion entitled Valentine Gray, 200 Years On, to talk about how far children's rights have come in the past 2 centuries and what is still needed today. The focus will be centred particularly around modern-day child poverty. The event is free to attend and will be held at Newport's Island Sixth Form campus in Node Hill between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Tuesday, April the 5th. That's next Tuesday. On Tuesday, Newport's Key Arts hosted an accurate historical reenactment of the Valentine Gray murder trial, with proceeds in aid of the Isle of Wight Youth Trust.
Okay, 1 or 2 items now which may be of interest from the Medina Leisure Centre. Andy Parsons' Healing the Nation is Saturday 2nd of April at 8 p.m. Tickets are £16. Magical Bones Black Magic, Friday the 8th of April at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are £19. Lost Voice Guy, the guy who's got cerebral palsy, who I actually saw last year, is very, very funny. He's on at Wednesday 11th of May at 7:30 p.m. And the last one from me, Illusion Impossible, on Friday the 13th of May at 7:30 p.m. Tickets £27.
Well ahead, Saturday 30th of April, 8 p.m. at Medina. It's Sean Walsh on a stand-up tour, and he says, come along, I'd be confident enough to say you'll enjoy yourself. And then into May, so plenty of time to consider it. Friday the 27th of May, there's a parody of Harry Potter. No doubt you'll be given more news about that in due course. The Mercury Tribute Band is Saturday the 28th of May, and the Little Mix show is on Sunday the 29th of May.
Now we move on to the additional news items, which includes shorter news articles and sports highlights. The first one is called Anna Follows Her Dream. An island woman's dream of becoming a professional actor is a step closer after a successful first term at the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama in London. Anna Constable from Wroxall, who has a rare genetic condition called Noonan syndrome, travels to London twice a week to attend a performance-making course. The course, which had more than 100 applicants, is designed for adults with autism and learning difficulties, and Anna is one of just 15 students to secure a place. Anna, whose condition means she has epilepsy and other issues that leave her in chronic pain, has participated in performances on the island with groups including Way Forward and Theatre Train. She's supported by Wightlink, who've added her to their sponsorship programme. Helen Breyer, course director at the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama, said, Anna is the first student on this course from the Isle of Wight and makes a huge commitment to travel to class each week. She's knowledgeable and creative and absolutely determined to forge her own path. Her dedication to her practice is always evident, especially in improvisation and devising classes where she's always full of ideas. Anna's mum, Debbie, said, I'm thrilled that she's doing so well. I'd also like to thank all those who have helped meet the cost of the travel, They've given Anna such an amazing opportunity. Anna also receives funding from the Isle of Wight Council to assist with rail fares from Portsmouth to London, but this doesn't include the London Underground, which costs Anna and her mum £49 per week and is essential for reducing her journey time due to her disabilities. Anyone wishing to support Anna with the cost of travel during her course can donate here, www.gofundme.com/f/help-anna-get-to-drama-school.
Between now and 2024, Southern Water is to make improvements at Lukeley Brook between Buckham and Newport's Towngate Pond. The plan is to make it more resilient to environmental change by improving its flow and the depth of water in the stream. Vegetation will be cut back to allow more sunlight into the channel. Marginal aquatic plants will be planted and gravel will be redistributed to make it better for plants and animals. Lukeley Brook is a chalk stream that flows through Carisbrook. It supports the ecology of the site of interest to nature conservation, the site at Place Meadows at Buckham. Since 2020, work has been carried out to help eels and fish travel along the stream. Fish passes, or fish ladders, small weirs and other improvements have been made.
2 new magistrates have been sworn in at the Isle of Wight Law Courts. A ceremony took place in the presence of James Attrell, Isle of Wight High Sheriff, Maurice Sheen, Vice Lord Lieutenant of the Isle of Wight, Gillian Dale, Chair of the Bench, and Judge Timothy Mousley. New magistrates Sarah Hughes and Lisa Hill White both swore the oath of allegiance and the judicial oath at the ceremony. Sarah was born in Wiltshire and moved to the island to raise her 4 children. Working in media consultancy, she enjoys films, music and the theatre. Lisa Hill White moved to the island in 2007 to realise an ambition to run a gift shop and tea room in Shanklin. She and her husband established a charity in 2013 to educate children in a rural village in the Gambia. Magistrates are volunteers who hear cases in courts in their community.
Plans to add to the offering at the Isle of Wight Steam Railway have been unveiled, this time in Wootton. At the western end of the Haven Street line, the Wootton station currently has a platform, waiting room, office, toilet and a signal box, but no further attractions. As part of plans to give passengers the experience of going somewhere rather than just going for a ride, the Steam Railway is looking to build a traditional goods shed and a coal yard with information boards at its stop on Station Road. Planning documents submitted in an application to the Isle of Wight Council say the building would illustrate how the railway carried milk and livestock. An exhibit will also be built to demonstrate a wagon being unloaded into pens for storage and then transported further. It will also feature a small hut, which would have been used by a clerk to take coal orders and manage the distribution. The hut will be a salvaged and reconditioned keeper's hut that formerly stood on the Newport to Cowes line. It is said there is currently little to encourage passengers of the steam railway to disembark at Wootton and explore, as displays and facilities are at Haven Street. Wootton Bridge Parish Council has supported the application, raising no objections with it.
Monkey Haven brought home silver at the prestigious 2022 Charity Film Awards. The gala ceremony was held at the Odeon, Leicester Square last Tuesday. The annual Charity Film Awards is in its 5th year and attracts entries from hundreds of charities from large organisations such as UNICEF and the British Heart Foundation to smaller ones like Monkey Haven. Monkey Haven's film, The Story of Monkey Haven, is a detailed account of the mission to provide a happy, forever home for rescued animals in need. It's narrated by Don Walser, Monkey Haven's founder, and told through the lens of his 19-year-old granddaughter, Ellie Wicks. Ellie said, "Growing up alongside the Monkey Haven has been a real experience for me. Through highs and lows, I've watched my granddad's dreams turn into reality and followed the journey through 19 years of my life. It's been truly inspirational to witness my granddad's passion of creating a forever home for primates and animals in need, and furthermore my family's dedication and determination in bringing it all to fruition. I felt it was important to create this short film of Monkey Haven's journey as not only a testimony to years of hard work and commitment, but as a reminder of just how far we've come as a charity, providing us with a chance to reflect on our achievements whilst highlighting the importance of our cause. This is my granddad's legacy, and I've loved sharing it with you all. Don said when Ellie suggested visiting the island for a day and creating a short film for the Charity Film Awards, I was slightly apprehensive of how we'd fit a 20-year-old story into a 5-minute film, but she captured the story beautifully. It's every granddad's dream to reminisce and tell your life story to your grandchildren, and through Ellie's creative eyes she's enabled me to tell my story to everyone. You don't realise how far you've come until you take time to reflect, and I'm enormously proud of our journey and how many animals we've been able to rehome. Watch the video at www.countypress.co.uk.
A recovering heroin addict and banned driver was caught drink driving while almost twice the limit and using a phone. Martin Lockett was stopped in South Street, Newport by police during the early hours of March the 6th. Police had noticed the 35-year-old of Nelson Road, Newport, was driving in a bus lane while using a phone, said Liz Miller, prosecuting at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court. And a breath test saw Lockett blow 64 micrograms. The legal limit is 35. Lockett admitted driving while disqualified, using a motor vehicle without insurance, and using a handheld mobile phone while driving a motor vehicle. Lockett was banned from driving for 18 months at Southampton Magistrates Court in September last year for drink and drug driving offences and failing to stop after an accident. Probation officer Sean Young said Lockett turned to drugs again when he moved to the island. For Lockett, Jim Osborne said his client had drunk a couple of pints, unaware his girlfriend had been taken unwell and was in A&E, and he was driving to the hospital. Magistrates replaced his probation order with a fresh one for a year, banned him from driving for 42 months, with £85 costs and a £95 surcharge.
A quarter of the Isle of Wight's young people didn't feel positive about their future, and 3/4 had been worrying a lot, according to a Youth Trust survey, leading it to blame the impact of COVID-19. The charity quizzed children and young people aged between 7 and 25 in 2019, 2020 and 2021. It says its findings showed more young people than in previous years were feeling alone and were increasingly reliant on social media for interaction. Between 2019 and 2021, there was around a 16% rise in 7 to 11-year-olds and 11 to 25-year-olds worrying a lot. By 2021, 7% more children and young people often felt unhappy, down or tearful, said the Trust. Among 11 to 25-year-olds, 69% were lacking in energy and enthusiasm. That's up 12% from 2019. Meanwhile, the survey also found nearly 11% more 11 to 25-year-olds identified as LGBTQ+ in 2021 compared to 2019. CEO Joe Dare said, "These findings reflect the reasons children, young people and their families are reaching out for support from the Trust. Anxiety remains by far the most common concern young islanders are presenting with to our counsellors as well-being practitioners. We are seeing, increasing numbers of young people seeking support for low mood, disordered eating and self-harm."
There will be Easter fun in Seaview. The popular Easter antics held at Seaview Yacht Club on the Seaview Esplanade are back in full force for 2022. Organised by the Nettleston and Seaview Community Partnership, the events will start at 2:30 p.m. on Easter Sunday, April the 17th. Egg throwing will take place on the club deck. Entry is £2, with £1 going to the food bank. Alongside will be the Easter Bonnet Parade. All ages are welcome. and the competition is being judged by their regatta president, Nikki Everley.
The Ventnor Community Food Bank has said a big thank you to Jackie Devaney and the Ventnor Sloggers running group after they raised £700. Jackie ran 3,000 metres every day for 30 days and presented the money to food bank volunteer Roy George. The food bank doesn't require a voucher or referral and is open every Tuesday and Thursday morning from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Ventnor Baptist Church on Pearse Street. The food bank can be contacted on 07862 247 694 or by sending a message on Facebook. The team would like to thank Paul and the staff at 5 a day for supplying fruit and veg, Ventnor Co-op for food donations, and the landlords at Ventnor Baptist Church, plus the growing band of volunteers. Items can be dropped off at donation points, which include the church, the Co-op, Tesco, Carnaby Tea Rooms, St Catherine's Church and Norris Stores in Knighton.
Despite a national bid to clear bed blockers from the Isle of Wight's only hospital, numbers have got even higher. Bed blockers are patients in hospital who are medically fit to leave, but with no care in the community in place to look after them, have nowhere to go. Following orders from NHS England, St Mary's Hospital in Newport was given a target to clear up to 50% of bed blockers in Operation Reset, ahead of a potential surge in Omicron cases in January. At the time of the action, bed blockers were taking up to 30% of the beds in St Mary's, leading to elective surgery cancellations and an increase in wait times for A&E patients. On January the 13th, the Isle of Wight NHS Trust said there were 62 patients who could leave but did not have care in place to do so. But in a recent update last week, after the action, 72 were waiting. Concerns were raised by the Trust in January about finding space in the care sector to house the extra patients due to a lack of staffing. The interim head of adult social care at the Isle of Wight Council, Laura Gordion, said the problem was not a reduction in capacity, but an increase in demand. Speaking at the Council's Health and Social Care Scrutiny Committee on Monday, Ms Gordion said, "When people have more complex needs, the support they need when they leave hospital is higher, and we need to reflect that in the support we have available to people." The joint action between the Trust, Council and NHS Hampshire, Southampton and Isle of Wight Clinical Commissioning Group was praised by health bosses at the meeting for working together, finding beds and solutions to the care issues. Ms Gordion said it had enabled them to identify quick wins to deliver better services for local people as they leave hospital, without pointing the finger and blaming others.
A new netball club for women aged over 45 has hit the courts in East Cowes. New players are welcome on Monday nights from 6:30 p.m. when the group meets for about an hour. Very much aimed at beginner level, the sessions are free and are currently held on the court at the skate park on Victoria Grove. If your only experience came from playing at school 30 years ago on a cold February morning, this is the club for you, say organisers. Equally, it's not too late to learn, even if you spent PE lessons hiding in the toilets. The group aims for fitness, fun and teamwork. Go to countypress.co.uk to find a link to the group's page on Facebook.
A Bembridge woman has been recognised for her role in guiding over 50 years. Deborah Meadows has been handed the Laurel Award, the organisation's second highest discretionary national honour. The Bembridge resident started as a brownie in Hertfordshire, where her mother was Tawny Owl, later gained a Queen's Guide Award and became a leader. She helped guide units in Hampshire, Surrey, Sussex and with British Guides overseas before moving to the island in 1999. A teacher, Deborah also ran Second Ride Brownies, later became leader of Bembridge Brownies and currently heads up Bembridge's Rainbows. Chief Commissioner for South West England, Laura Cotty, who made the presentation, said, She has helped hundreds of girls discover new things, make new friends, and experience things for the first time. She has endless energy and enthusiasm and is committed to helping each girl to find her voice. Deborah said, "This award presentation was all the more special as it was in the company of so many of the Isle of Wight team who supported me while I was Island Commissioner. And there were also presentations of long service awards to Leslie Clifford and Susan Horton, and the Young Leader Commonwealth Award was handed to Tessa Bryson."
Come and see what we're doing. That's the message from the new owners of the landmark St Augustine Villa in Ventnor after they were accused of architectural vandalism. Ventnor man Melvin Hurst wrote to the county press accusing new owner Tom Fahey of bringing architecture into disrepute over his treatment of the windows in the building. Now Mr Fahey has repeated his invitation for anyone with concerns to go along and see what they were doing, including work to the windows, which he said were in keeping with those at neighbouring buildings. Mr Hurst said, "There is renovation work currently being undertaken at the villa, which includes replacing the windows fronting Shore Hill and the Esplanade. Perfectly understandable in an old building, but the new windows have single large panes of glass in them, altering the character of the frontages irretrievably." He said the original windows were divided into smaller panes, in keeping with the glass technology of the Georgian and Victorian period. This led to the familiar and aesthetically pleasing appearance of their frontages, Mr Hurst said. He said the new panes have presumably been inserted to give guests a better sea view, but just because something is possible with new technology, it doesn't mean that it should be adopted. Mr Fahey, who plans to open the terrace rooms Ventnor at the villa, said, "We're really ploughing everything into St Augustine, truly our heart and souls, with nothing but best interest for all stakeholders, and I include local residents as chief among these. My wife Ashley's grandparents had a guest house in Ventnor for many years, so we have a genuine attachment to the town." He said the windows were the only element of the entire refurbishment where they'd stepped away visually from the original design, but given they were a direct replacement for PVC, he was hopeful that they would be seen as a step forward. He said, "So far we've had multiple passers-by stop and comment on how happy they are with the windows. When you see the views from the inside without bars, it's so hard not to view the change as progress."
Bembridge Bakery has been given a 1-star food hygiene rating for untrained staff, damaged flooring and cracked ovens. The rating dished out by the Isle of Wight Council following an inspection in February means major improvement is necessary at the bakery on Bembridge High Street. The owners and operators, Planning Solutions of Havant, have acknowledged the faults and said all steps to remedy the issues have been actioned. Environmental health inspectors highlighted many issues at the bakery, including a staff member who had not been provided with instructions in food hygiene policies and practices to follow. Inspectors also said they were disappointed to see issues reported to them before the visit. No hot running water in the kitchen hand basin, no cold water in the bakery hand basin, and no hygienic hand drying materials. These had not been rectified. The condition of the building and equipment also concerned inspectors, with damaged areas of flooring, a hole in the wall near the outside extractor fan, a metal trolley with rusty and dirty wheels, and damaged wooden shelves. Bakery ovens were also cracked, with one having part of its base missing. They go on to list several more, but it's already been covered in the general discussion. A spokesperson for Planning Solutions said it took the matter seriously and invested considerable time, effort and expense to ensure all items raised have been dealt with in a timely manner. It said there have been some personnel changes which appeared to have caused a lapse in routines, but all staff had recently completed training.
A Ryde paedophile has been sentenced for failing to register a credit card with police in time, breaching a sex offenders register requirement. Peter Baines of West Street appeared before Isle of Wight magistrates. The 65-year-old admitted failing to comply with the notification requirements of the Sex Offenders Register on February 4th, 2022. The court heard Baines had failed to register a new credit card within 3 days of receiving it. Prosecutor Liz Miller told the court Baines had been jailed for 12 months back in March 2019. Caught with indecent images of children on his phone, he was placed on the Sex Offenders Register for 10 years. Among the conditions, he was required to register any new bank accounts, debit cards and credit cards within 3 days of receiving them. On February 4th, Ms Miller said Baines attended the Newport police station and completed his annual registration, notifying officers of a new Ocean credit card in his name, with a start date of September 2021. The card hadn't been notified to the police on any previous occasion. Jim Osborne, defending, said Baines pleaded guilty at the earliest opportunity. He said he simply forgot to register it and got the card to purchase some furniture. Mr Osborne said Baines openly admitted having the card and there was nothing sinister about it. Baines was fined £80 and in order to pay costs of £85 and a £34 surcharge.
Expensive littering. A woman must pay out £354 after discarding a cigarette butt in the street, a court has ordered. Lisa Donovan of Mary Rose Avenue, Wootton, was found to have thrown down, dropped or otherwise deposited a cigarette butt in Above Bar, Southampton, last October. The case was brought by Southampton City Council and heard by Portsmouth magistrates on March the 8th. Donovan was fined £220 with court costs of £100 and a surcharge to fund victim services of £34.
A Wroxall couple celebrated their diamond wedding anniversary. Richard and Barbara Duck have lived in the village for the last 15 years. Born in Worcester Park and North Cheam respectively, they met in Epsom, where Richard worked as an apprentice in the motor trade, while Barbara attended Epsom School of Art. Barbara, 84, went on to work for Jaeger in London, while Richard, 86, completed his 2 years of national service in the Royal Navy. The pair married in Cheam at St Dunstan's Church on March 24, 1962. They honeymooned in Jersey. Richard worked his way up to car sales manager with F.G. Barnes in Guildford, while Barbara worked for Pastimes and W.H. Smith in the same town. Richard eventually retired as a CAA pilot following a heart attack in 25. He enjoys golf, DIY and riding his 125cc Honda scooter. Barbara, in full remission from cancer after treatment in 1999, enjoys gardening and reading. Having lived in Epsom and Jacob's Well for a combined total of 45 years, they moved to Wroxall in 2007. Richard soon joined Shanklin and Sandown Golf Club and later transferred to Ryde Golf Club, where he was voted in as seniors captain in 2013. Asked what the secret was to a long and healthy marriage, the couple agreed on tolerance in all matters where there is a difference of opinion and an enduring sense of humour. They enjoyed a diamond wedding, family gathering and celebrations at the Worplesdon Place Hotel near Guildford. The pair have 2 sons, a daughter, 3 granddaughters and 2 grandsons, all living in the home counties.
Fun ball sessions for Friday evenings are being offered by Plessy Bowling Club. Friends, group and team building sessions are available, run by regular league players in a professionally equipped facility at Park Road in Cowes, and catering can be made available by prior arrangement. So call the community club on 247739 to find out more.
Work on Ryde Interchange will begin next week, planning to provide better travel connectivity and a much improved public space. The Esplanade Transport Hub will be reorganised to provide more landscape pedestrian space, reflecting on responses received at a public consultation last year. This change will allow buses to leave directly to George Street rather than turning at the Dover Street roundabout. The Isle of Wight Council says the scheme will cost £10 million, primarily funded by a government grant. The changes will include a new cycle route and walking way through the Esplanade, more signpost links between Ladies Walk to Puckpool, A boardwalk built on the tramway pier by Wight Link, scheduled to start later in spring. Refurbishment of the Esplanade station, providing a direct connection from the concourse to the boardwalk, accessible public toilets and expanded retail and cafe units. The old toilet block and cafe will be demolished and temporary toilets provided within Western Gardens until new facilities are installed as part of the station refurbishment. A new footway and cycle route improvements between the Hover Travel footbridge and Dover Street, including improved pedestrian crossing facilities at the Dover Street Esplanade junctions, will start on Monday. To help minimise disruption, the work will be delivered in several phases over a year and will take into account events including the Isle of Wight Festival, Tour of Britain, Ride Carnival and the Scooter Rally. An Isle of Wight Council spokesperson said the first phase should be completed by the end of July, with little impact on pedestrians or vehicles using the area. A temporary worksite compound will be set up at the existing coach park area opposite the old ice rink, with coaches advised to use the coach park next to Ride Super Bowl. Councillor Phil Jordan, Cabinet Minister for Transport and Infrastructure, said it's taken a while to prepare for this project. After extensive consultation with the public and businesses, I'm delighted we're about to begin work on a scheme that will deliver a much improved public space and welcoming transport interchange for all users.
The residents at Vector House Nursing Home in Newport marked International Women's Day on March the 8th. Residents took part in discussions about the role of the many different women who have shaped history. Cleopatra, Boudica, Florence Nightingale, Marie Curie and Mrs Thatcher and the Queen were among those to get a mention. This day is marked every year and celebrates rights and gender equality.
A man caught with cannabis by police while investigating an unrelated matter was arrested and brought before Island magistrates. Brian Bailey, of no fixed address, admitted possessing cannabis on June 28th last year when he appeared at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court. Police had entered his former property in respect of another matter being investigated and discovered herbal cannabis on him when they escorted him to the police van, said Liz Miller, prosecuting. Miss Miller said efforts were made by the police to deal with the matter out of court, but Bailey refused to cooperate with that course of action. Bailey, 44, unemployed and unrepresented, told the bench, "The police just barged into my house without warning. If I was sat in my own house, minding my own business, smoking cannabis, then yes, I'm guilty." Bailey, argumentative throughout the hearing, then demanded the court show police body-worn video as evidence his prosecution was unjust, which was rejected by magistrates. Bailey was handed a 6-month conditional discharge and an order to pay a £22 victim surcharge.
A landmark tree has been planted in Sandown. The tree has been planted as part of the Queen's Grand Green Canopy, a national tree planting initiative to honour the Platinum Jubilee. Sandown Green Town volunteers and local residents were delighted to welcome Deputy Lord Lieutenants for the Isle of Wight, Mary Case and Graham Biss, together with Sandown Mayor Councillor Paddy Lightfoot, to the planting of an oak tree in Battery Gardens. Ben Holbrook, Deputy Chair of the volunteer group, said, "We hope this tree, along with other native species we have planted around Sandown, will help to mark the Platinum Jubilee and will go on to thrive for decades to come. Trees are vital to our lives and well-being, but also provide habitats for insects, fungi, moss, small mammals and birds. We would encourage everyone to consider planting a tree. There are trees suitable for even the smallest of gardens, and the best time for planting is October to March, so the summer is for making your plans. Check out the Queen's Green Canopy website, where there is excellent advice." Sandown Green Town volunteers are representing the island in Britain in bloom this summer and are always looking for new members. And so you can get in touch by emailing sandowngtv@gmail.com or check them out on Facebook.
A roofer who claimed he took his friend's car without permission because he needed painkillers for toothache and ran off when police stopped him was told by a magistrate his actions were stupid. Caelan Halliday admitted taking a Ford Fiesta without the owner's consent and driving on Green Lane, Shanklin, with no insurance and a valid driving licence on the afternoon of March the 6th. Halliday, of no fixed address, came to the attention of a police patrol who saw him driving around Sandown and Shanklin. When they did a vehicle check, they discovered the Fiesta was registered to and insured by Bethany Thomas, and they pulled him over. When he was quizzed about whether he was insured to drive the car, Halliday, 25, ran away, said Liz Miller, prosecuting at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court on Tuesday. When Miss Thomas was contacted, she assumed the car was still outside her address and had not given anyone permission to drive it. Halliday, formerly of Sandown Road, Shanklin, handed himself into the police the following day. For Halliday, Jim Osborne said his client claimed he had a dental appointment and was late, so he took the car. But probation officer Dawn Young said Halliday had claimed he had toothache and had used the car to drive to his sister's house to get painkillers. He wanted to return the car keys before Miss Thomas had realised the car had gone. He said when he ran away from the police, it was so he could get back to Bethany's to explain what he did before the police did, explained Mrs. Young. At one point, he hid in a bush and tried to call her, but the police saw him and he ran off again. Magistrates handed Halliday a year's probation, which included 60 hours unpaid work with an 8-month driving ban and an order to pay £85 costs and a £95 victim surcharge. Presiding Magistrate Keith Jones told Halliday it really was a stupid thing to do.
2 Shanklin firefighters have been awarded medals for their service to the island. Adam Wood and Jason Matthews were awarded the Fire Brigade Long Service and Good Conduct medals. These medals recognise 20 years' service and is one way to recognise firefighters and staff for their dedication to their careers in the fire and rescue service. The awards were presented to both firefighters by Group Manager Jeff Walls. A spokesman from the Shanklin Fire Station said they joined together and are proud members of our team that serve the island community. Now it's goodbye from Kate. Goodbye.
Here's some final information about the In Touch programme, which is about enhanced audio description, the Strawberry Field exhibition. Audio description is a form of narration that fills in the blanks in film, TV and theatre shows. It tells blind and partially sighted people what visual elements they could be missing on screen or the stage. Many believe that the current provision of audio description is too low, as some of the leading broadcasters and streaming platforms are only just going above the legally recommended requirement of 10%. Despite this, a project from the University of York is looking to improve the overall quality of audio description, and they're calling it enhanced audio description. Its aim is to provide a more immersive experience for both visually impaired and sighted people. We paid a visit to an exhibition that is aiming to be the most accessible in the UK for blind and partially sighted people. It's based in Liverpool and is called Strawberry Field. You've probably guessed by now that it's an exhibition about the legacy of the Beatles. It was once the Salvation Army children's home where John went to play and escape. Now it is home to an interactive visitor exhibition, cafe, shop and gardens.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good evening. Tonight, the House and Gardens aiming to be the most accessible tourist site for blind people in the UK.
Even when you make an initial phone call to some place and you say, have you got anything audio described? And you just met with a, well, no, we don't do that. So I wanted us at Strawberry Field to not be like that.
Well, we'll be giving it the once-over later on in the programme. But first, we look at one of the techniques that Strawberry Fields is using to describe what other visitors are seeing, audio description. Now, of course, there's still concern that the quantity of audio description on television, film and stage is a worry for many visually impaired people. But we don't hear as much about its quality. Surely that matters too. On that at least, there does seem to be some good news on the way. A project funded by the Arts and Humanities Research Council is working on enhanced audio description with the aim of making television and films a more complete experience. Well, our reporter Fern Lulham, who's pretty keen on audio description herself, has had a closer look at this work. So Fern, what actually is enhanced audio description? What is being enhanced?
Well, Peter, useful though it is, standard audio description is sometimes seen as a bit of an add-on to TV or film productions. An enhanced audio description aims to deliver a more immersive experience for everyone, whether or not they're blind. Now, to find out a bit more about this, I spoke to Dr. Mariana Lopez, the principal investigator in the project you mentioned at the University of York. And here's what she told me.
The first method has to do with sound effects, to make it clearer in terms of actions as well as the presence of characters. A sound effect of an action might already be in the original film soundtrack, but it might be a little bit too low in the mix for it to be instantly recognizable. So we actually sometimes adjust the levels to make them clearer. The second technique has to do with spatial audio. And by this, I mean changing the location of sound effects and voices to match where they are coming from on screen. So for example, if a character is going from the front to the back, walking across a room, we can actually hear the footsteps and we can hear the dialogue lines being positioned depending on where that character is. So it's a really powerful tool to paint a picture of what the setting is and where people and objects are. The third technique is first-person narration. This is used in quite limited manner so that it doesn't start obstructing other elements of the soundtrack. But it's really useful when we want to clarify an action, or sometimes maybe there's a gesture that is very important, and it can be even a color that is really important to setting the scene. And together, those three techniques are enhanced audio description.
That's Dr. Mariana Lopez from the University of York. But Fern, I mean, to appreciate that, aren't you going to need the best kit, you know, a fancy speaker, a very good set of headphones?
Well, I put that point to Mariana and she reassured me that you can simply use your everyday headphones, you know, the sort you might listen to music through, for example, and you can still have the experience without investing loads in pricey new tech.
Well, that all sounds very impressive, but surely with audio description levels on TV and film, as low as they are for blind and partially sighted people, aren't we trying to run before we can walk?
I'm sure you won't be alone in raising that point, Peter. As enhanced audio description is focused on quality and is integral to the whole production process, it should raise the profile of inclusion and make that more apparent across the industry. And if it catches on and starts being used by blind and sighted people alike, I'd hope that that would lead to improvements in quality and quantity for all audio description. If you're wondering what enhanced audio description sounds like, the wait is over. Here's a clip from the short film Pearl, which is a story with gothic elements about a girl who produces pearls in her lungs.
I sit on my bed, my dingy room full of shadows. The only light is from my window. I face the light. The nurse brings the silver bucket and gets me ready. Mother comes in.
I don't know what happened. It's worse this time.
She gets the oxygen mask. As something moves under my skin.
Well, I still think good tech would help there, but Fern Lulham, thank you very much indeed. If you'd like to listen to Fern's extended interview with Dr. Lopez, you can go to the BBC World Service's Digital Planet website and download the episode broadcast on February the 8th. Now, it began life as a Gothic country manor in the outskirts of Liverpool. It was converted by the Salvation Army into an orphanage and children's home. But it's now a growing tourist attraction with ambitions to make it fully accessible for disabled visitors, indeed the best in the UK. And of course it was made world famous by one of John Lennon's most haunting and captivating songs.
Good morning, welcome
Morning.
Thank you.
Hi Peter, hi Beth.
Hi, Patrick.
Hi there.
Hi. You're going to show us around?
I am, yes. Let me just grab you each a pair of headphones and I'm going to describe everything that's in the visitor experience for you as we go through. So, we've just entered the visitor experience. On your right, just in front of you, there is a strange piece of artwork. It appears at first to be black and white piano keys with large letters stuck on them. At first, it's hard to make out what the letters are saying, but as we approach and view from a different angle, it becomes obvious that they spell out the words "nothing is real," and they create a fine introduction to the exhibition. So, if you'd like to reach out.
Okay, so it's in front of me, yeah?
So you're currently touching one of the black keys right now. And they're like, yeah, they're about 10 foot tall. If you reach your hands down slightly, you'll be able to feel the base of the keys on your left hand. So you feel it gets a bit wider
there,
at
yes.
the bottom, like a piano key.
Yeah. Do you tailor this to the visually impaired people that you get?
Yes, so I've got a script with me that is the visually impaired version of our script, because usually there's an interactive guide that explains it all for you as you go around, but it's on a little like iPad style screen. Right. So instead of an iPad you get iPatrick instead. To your left there is a large projection on the wall. It is interchanging between images of the house and a video of John Lennon, of Paul McCartney even, sorry. And he's talking about John. I'm going to actually play that through your headphones now for you so you can hear what he has to say. I'm just going to give it a second to loop back. There you go.
Well, Strawberry Fields is a song that John had because he used to live next door to this place called Strawberry Fields, which was a Salvation Army place for kids. And he used to bunk over, and it was his little magic garden to sort of play in. So whenever I went to visit him, he'd sort of say, hey, you know, and we'd go past and he said, this is Strawberry Fields, and he'd give me the gin on it.
So this is a multi-string instrument.
It is an Indian string instrument, and it's usually got between 21 to 36 strings.
1, 2, 3. Perhaps we won't do all that.
So in the song Strawberry Fields Forever, George Harrison actually played one of these.
Again, though, it's a lovely sort of feel.
Yeah.
The strings. I bet you anything you like that blind people who come round here will spend quite a lot of time playing with this.
They do. So I'm going to also pass you now. So this is actually a small replica of the gate.
Oh, goodness, it's got pointy things on the top. You wouldn't want to fancy trying to climb over that.
So the gates themselves that are actually located in our garden at the moment are a larger version of what you're feeling now. And they're about the size of a garage door.
Yeah.
And they weigh about 1.5 tonnes. They're pierced with scrolls and decorated with flower heads that resemble the Lancastrian rose. And they've got spear finials on top, which is what you've already discovered.
Yes. Spear finials. Yes. It sounds rather daunting, doesn't it? This kind of large-scale production here, it's fascinating. You get the tactile sense. Difficult as a totally blind person, certainly, to get the overall sense because it's so large and it's spread out.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a very abstract area and it is a very open space as well in this room. We usually do encourage people to have a sit down and obviously take a look at it from a step back, but obviously when we've got visually impaired customers, we encourage you to get up close. We're trying to get as much of this abstract to you as we physically can. Okay, yeah. In front of you right now, again, Peter, if you'd like to reach out in front of you, you'll feel a glass case essentially.
Right.
But what's inside this case is the piano that John composed Imagine on.
Oh, do you mean I can't touch it? You put it in a glass case?
I know.
That's not very good for blind people.
Blame management, sir, not me.
Right, I will. Because I was going to play the first few notes of Strawberry Fields on this piano.
Luckily, I'll be taking over to the mellotron in a little bit, and that is actually the instrument that the first few notes of Strawberry Field are played on.
Oh, well.
And you'll be able to have a play on that.
Right.
So this piano is more based around, obviously, Imagine. Well, a little feature I would just like to point out on it, on the side of the piano, just next to the keys, there is actually still cigarette burns of where John would take his cigarette out and place it on the side of the piano while he was playing.
Really? I have a piano that's got rings on it the size of a beer glass. Perhaps one day...
I'd say one day we can have that in a case next
Maybe
to this
you
one.
can, yeah. But the best was yet to come for me because someone who's taking an enormous interest in the Strawberry Fields project is John's half-sister, Julia Baird. And it turns out she knew all about In Touch as well.
I've listened to your programme for years, but I've never, ever seen
a photograph of you. I love your programme.
Can I ask you, if you were to put it into words, what Strawberry Fields, what this place meant to John, given
everything. He went to live from my mother, our mother, to live with Mimi. It was never his choice. It was never anybody's choice, believe me. He ended up just up the road here. So John very quickly found this place as a sanctuary. And at that time, there were only young girls in it. And the girls used to be doing games and playtime and stuff. And John and Paul and others would be sitting in the tree watching them.
Because I'm interested what you think he would have made of this now, what you've done here.
I didn't do it, the Salvation Army did it. He would have absolutely loved this as a sanctuary because we're dealing with students with mild to moderate learning disabilities. John had his own stresses and these students bring their own stresses. And I always say, when I give a talk, when they've done their 10 weeks, and I say, you can always come back. This is your forever home.
I mean, we're obviously on In Touch, because as you listen, you'll know we're particularly interested in blind and partially sighted people.
Yes.
Would that side of it have interested John, do you think?
Anything that was slightly out of kilter would have interested him because he was slightly out of kilter.
He was slightly short-sighted, wasn't he?
He was extremely short-sighted, and so am I. And our mother was, but she wouldn't wear glasses because she was too beautiful, I think.
I was employed as the volunteer coordinator at Strawberry Field.
That's Kelly Barton, who was responsible for many of the accessibility features that you heard earlier on.
In the very early days when the exhibition had just been set up, as a staff team, everyone went round the exhibition. And for myself, it just felt like I could have listened to the media guide anywhere. I could have sat at my desk and done the same thing. I didn't really get anything from being in the exhibition. There's some lovely interviews with different people. But that's all I was getting. I wanted to know where I was, how big the room was. I wanted to kind of get the sort of atmosphere and the impression of where I actually was.
So what did you tell them they ought to do?
I just said, that they needed really to bring it more alive for people who are visually impaired or, blind or partially sighted. So that could be, adding some kind of tactile elements in. I asked for more description of what the room was actually like, what people were visually, what they were able to see. The media guide is not usable for someone who can't see anyway, because you need to be able to control the screen and it's not got kind of speech software or anything, so you can't use that yourself. As you've seen, you do still need a guide with you, but it needed that extra element.
How much was this based on other tourist attractions you'd gone round as a blind person?
I've been to places that are probably not overly accessible. Even when you make an initial phone call to some place and you say, have you got anything audio described? And you're just met with no, we don't do that. So I wanted us at Strawberry Field to not be like that. Genuinely from the heart, the Salvation Army, they want to be inclusive. And so they're working towards it. And I think they'll be the first to say they don't always get everything right, but attitudinally, they are brilliant because they want to work towards that. And for me, that means so much more.
Describe your favourite bits of the site now it's up and running.
Ooh, I love the gardens, especially when it's a nice sunny day. That for me is a really, really nice place. We're walking along the strawberry beds on the left-hand side.
Right.
Now, here's the gates. There's two sets of gates now. One on the front, even when this was a derelict site. Coaches, taxis, buses came. People would get out, have a photograph, get back on. So we knew that there was a possibility for things going on here because people are coming. If they go to the Cavern, if they go to Beatles' Story, they would get out here, out of town, just to get a photograph by the gates.
Can I just ask you, how would you sum up the idea, the concept behind this place as it is now?
It's continuing the legacy of working with disaffected people. We're talking bringing people into mainstream society and being welcomed. What we're doing is opening the door. This is an utter privilege to have this building here, but it's because of John, because it's Liverpool, because it's the Beatles.
Kelly, I have to say, the day we were there weren't a lot of visually impaired people going around, and I just wonder if that was a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I think that's a massive area that needs to be worked on to get more people there. And that's why we started with the focus group. And I know the guys in the focus group will be really instrumental in helping raise awareness and talking to other people, like their friends or people they might know, or organisations who, support people with sight loss. And I think that's really important going forward.
Well, that's a good point to bring in Matthew. Matthew Hughes-Payton, you were part of the focus group. Just give me your impressions of Strawberry Fields.
I tried to go in with an open mind, really. I knew a bit about the history, but as far as, what actually went on at Strawberry Fields, I didn't really know. And actually doing the tour as well, it did feel like they'd really sort of managed to break that accessibility barrier for visually impaired people. The room was described, which was really important to me because it's quite a dark room. I think I've been to a few sort of places that claim to be quite accessible to visually impaired people, and you found that there's bits missing, or maybe the audio doesn't work.
Now, the point of a focus group is to get suggestions of potential improvements. What are yours? Either those you've already made or those you'd still like to make?
I'd say one of the issues we had, the audio kept going in and out a little bit, and also sometimes some of the actual spoken bit where some of the interviews were going on, the volume was pretty low. But generally, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's definitely one of the best I've done, and I've done quite a few, lived in London and did quite a few. I thought it was overall very good.
Favourite feature?
Favourite feature for me was definitely, the handwritten lyrics for Strawberry Fields. Even though I struggled to sort of see them, they were read to us, and it's really gave you a sense of authenticity, I think.
Now, in the publicity, the phrase "the best tourist attraction in Britain" is made in relation to accessibility. It's a big claim, Kelly, that. It's a big claim. Are they anywhere near it yet?
Oh, it is a big claim, but you've got to claim big, haven't you? I think they are, in terms of their attitude. For me, that is always the most important thing, because you go to so many places where they just don't care. And if you've got the attitude right, anything can happen.
What I want to do is play the first line of Strawberry Fields. Ooh, that was nearly the beginning of... That'll do. Fantastic. Well, a brilliant day for me, as you can probably tell. And if you have a tourist experience that you'd like to give a shout out to, well, then we'd be very happy to hear about it. You can email intouch@bbc.co.uk. You can leave your voice messages on 0161 836 1338, or you can go to our website, bbc.co.uk/intouch. From me, Peter Wight, producer Beth Hemmings, and studio managers David Crackles and Mike Smith, goodbye.